Okay. Recording is started.
Okay, it is 6:33 and we're beginning the meeting of the Community Safety and Social Justice Committee on June 10th. Um, I'm going to read the Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, extended through June 30th, 2027, the ability of public bodies to meet in a fully remote or hybrid manner. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so via Zoom or by telephone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via tech means. We're going to go over the agenda for today, and then we'll get into the agenda. But before then, I guess what we'll do is just make sure who's amongst us, and that we can hear you and all of that. So why don't we get started with Erica?
I'm here.
And you can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. And then Anna
I'm here and I can hear you.
and Everett
Yes, here and I can hear. Thank you.
and Camille.
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. And then as the other members get on, we'll just make sure that they can hear us and we can hear them. Agenda, so we'll do announcements. We're doing agenda review right now. Then we'll do the minutes because we do have two minutes, and we'll see if we're ready to adopt those. Member reports, public comment, Crescent DI updates, Rob GOL update, ICE update, Sanctuary City bylaw, flyer response, event June 13th, Youth Empowerment Center funds and location, Town Council debrief, membership update. We'll have our second public comment and then any items not anticipated. So any announcements from anyone?
Would this be an okay time for me to announce the food drive event?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that the Amherst Luce Hub is going to be hosting a food drive and community conversation around food security and immigration, immigrant justice here in Amherst. So we're going to be collecting food for the Amherst Survival Center. They have a list of specific items that a lot of the Haitian community members that they work with have high in demand, as well as the Pioneer Valley Workers Center, and highlighting the work of a few different organizations like Amherst Community Connections, CRESS, various people within our community that support large portions of vulnerable members of our community, and within that, our immigrant neighbors and friends. So it'll be at the Moan and Dove, June 20th in the afternoon. We'll have food, we'll be there chatting, and we'd love anyone and everyone to come join us.
Perfect. That sounds like a great event. Hopefully there'll be a great turnout. Any other announcements?
And hopefully there will be more.
Or that they'll do other food drives?
Yeah, we're hoping to continue these kinds of events, sort of to build that network of mutual aid around immigrants in the community.
Excellent. Because unfortunately, I'll be out of town, so hopefully they will have some more. That would be great. All right. Any other announcements from anyone else? Okay. Minutes. So we have two that we could adopt. One is the April 8th minutes. So want to kind of open it up. Are there any edits? Anything that we need to kind of correct from those minutes? Okay. So I guess I'm not very good with this whole Robert's rules of this and that, but I'll do my best. So I guess move to adopt the minutes.
I move to adopt the minutes.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
All right. Roll call. Erica,
Yes.
Everett,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay. Then we have one other one, May 13th. Again, open it up if there's any edits, anything we need to change. Okay, hearing none. We move to adopt these minutes as they were presented to us.
So moved.
And second,
Second.
perfect. All right. So Erica,
Abstain since I was not at the meeting.
okay. Everell,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
and for me it's an I. So is that like enough for us to adopt it, Camille?
I think we need a quorum, and
Yeah.
I don't think we have a quorum.
Yeah, we don't like, well, because Erica abstained. I think if Erica hadn't abstained, then we would
Yeah.
have, right? Okay. All right. So then we'll do another roll call, maybe because I know two more members are supposed to get on. They're just running late, so we can do it again towards the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. If I forget, you all remind me. All right.
It's good practice.
Okay. Thank you. So now we're going to move on to our member reports. Any reports that people have to, share with the community? I do want to say that although we're going to be kind of talking about it later when we do the membership update, but I do want to say it, now in case any community members want to make a public comment and things like that. And we'll have another public comment at the end that Allegra Clark, our, faithful co-chair and, member of CSSJC, and I believe since we began CSSJC back in 2022, um, will be stepping down after this meeting. This will be her last meeting. And so, I am tore up about it because I did not want her to leave. But so, we'll talk more about it obviously when the agenda item comes up. But in case, anyone wants to make any comments and things like that, that would be very well received because she's been just spectacular, spectacular member, spectacular co-chair. So she's going to be very, very much missed. Any other reports that people want to make? Okay. So we're going to open up for the first public comment. See that there's two attendees in the audience. Camille, you'll need to help me with that in terms of like bringing people in if there is a hand up. I don't see any hand up yet, but we'll give it another few moments to see if anyone joins us. I just know it was a busy week with the other meeting that we had on Monday, so I know my network is exhausted. Okay. I don't see any hands up. So,
No.
yeah, we'll have another public comment at the end, and then people can have an opportunity to chime in then. So our next agenda item is CRES and DI updates. Why don't we turn it over to Camille for CRES?
Good evening. I included in the packet is the June issue of our newsletter. We have a bunch of events that are happening this month. One of them is happening Sunday is the Human Rights Commission Youth Hero Awards and also Race Amity Celebration. It'll be Sunday, June 14th from 11 like 11 or 12. I'm like, okay, I didn't write that part down until 3 o'clock. It will be at Mill River. There's going to be food. There will be speakers there, and we have a lot of young people that we are giving awards to. So come out. Cress and DEI will both be there. And I know that some of the town councilors will be there. So there will be food. So I look forward to seeing folks there. Also on the 28th is the Amherst Pride Parade. And the Pride Parade starts at the high school and goes to the center of town where there will be food and games and music and speakers. Um, Crest has been very busy. A new program we started is called the Crest Pull-Up Program. It is for outreach, and this will be Crest going out in the community to the parks, etc. And one of the main things is getting people to understand more about what Crest does, and also to be there to support people. We'll be having water and maybe snacks, depending on and how we reach people that are in the community. So we'll be at different areas on different days. So look for us out in town in our gray uniforms.
Well, one quick question about that. So, can you share that with us, like when those dates will be and what times? I guess we can share with our network.
Sure. It's there is no set date or time. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
going to be where we're just going to be out in the community,
Mm.
meeting people where they're at. So
So more like
especially
pop up.
tomorrow, right? That's the
Okay.
pull up.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
the other thing that is going on is tomorrow and Friday, with it being being over 90 degrees, the Banks Community Center will be holding a cooling shelter. There'll be water available, and that will be in the entryway to the front door of Bangs. There's a table set up there. So, folks, if you're hot, if you don't have air conditioning, between 8:30 and 4 o'clock, we'll be there having water set up for folks. And if they want to come talk to a Crest responder or get more information, we'll be there. Thank you.
A question.
Sure.
Would you consider, if you're going to be in certain places, putting it on your social media so that people could know where to find you?
Actually, that's a really good idea. Thank you. I'll add that.
Erica?
I just want to say thank you for posting your newsletter at Futura. It's great to see the newsletter in places where people are, hanging out so they can see what you're doing and how to get in touch. I had a question about, and I'm sorry if it was answered at the last meeting, but just about the dispatch calls that, there's only been 2% from
Mhm.
you receiving them. What is it we need to do? What is it we need to know in order to? I mean, I think we were pretty loud and clear. Deborah, you were excellent in terms of being very loud and clear about our expectations. But what do we need to do in order to increase that call volume?
Well, currently the town manager, the police chief, and the supervisor for the ECC, the Emergency Communication Center, will be getting together to discuss what it is that we can do to hash out what calls are CREST appropriate. So at the current time, it has been a slow rollout. We did receive 6 in the last month. So I feel that every month the numbers will be going up. It just is going to take training on the part of dispatchers to understand exactly what calls that Crest can take. And also, I think that people have to understand that in the past, it's only been 2 types of calls that, well, 3 if you count medical, but it was either a police call, a fire call, or a fire/EMS call. So being the third, newbie on the block, um, those are the type of things that we're working out.
I have a follow-up with that. In terms of the dispatch, as Erica said, we're going to continue to put the pressure on that. But I thought that those protocols had been ironed out in terms of which calls were going to Crest. And again, some of the things that we've pointed out ad nauseum from November to now is that, as the police have stated and others have stated that, most of the calls are nonviolent. So, um, I get it. Okay, 6 calls came in, but in comparison to the police and what they're being called towards, that's still, kind of negligible numbers. So I guess, yeah, I get you all are going to meet and so on and so forth. But, the chief, the town manager, the dispatch, they need to understand that we can't continue to wait around, like our constituents want to have access to CREST. They want CREST to be called for certain incidents so that, their members aren't getting, like their family members, their friends and neighbors and everything aren't getting arrested or worse. So, you know, this needs to happen more quickly. I mean, it needs to be impressed upon them that we can't continue to wait. And obviously, I think the town council heard that loud and clear. So we're going to
Mhm.
continue to put the pressure through the town councilors too. I think they're very much aware that this needs to happen. But what else needs to happen from our end? And really, I want to hear from you in terms of like, is the chief, is the head of dispatch, is the town manager willing to make this happen?
So I believe that we're all willing to make it happen. One of the things that I can actually comment about is last Thursday and Friday, I was in Chicago for the AMSA, which stands for Alternative Mobile Services Association convention. And one of the key speakers that came out was talking about how when these alternative mobile services were stood up, that many of the calls were deemed that they were calls for alternative response, and that when these departments were stood up, the calls trickled in to begin with. And I think it has to do with as things progress, more and more calls will go, in our case, to CREST. So I don't think that these are being done on purpose. I feel that it is something, it is a learning curve, and that since we've been on dispatch in January, that each month these are increasing. And I see that they will continue to increase monthly as more and more calls are directed to us.
But to Deborah's point though, is there a definitive plan for, because I believe I heard you say that dispatch needs to be trained on what gets dispatched to CREST. So is there a definitive training plan with times and dates as to when dispatch is being trained? Is there ongoing training to say these are CREST appropriate calls that should be transferred to CREST?
I'm not in charge of their training, so I don't know what they have for training on exactly what are the calls. All I did was work with everyone on what protocols were CREST available. So we have our calls outlined, and they were given over to the communication center, to PD, and also to the fire department of what CREST calls are.
Thank you, Camille.
So
Thank you.
Anna,
Yeah, I'm also wondering about hours and how that affects how many calls are able to go to Crest. It seems like I think you've identified like specific times that are seen as peak, and not all are hours that Crest is open and available because of all these logistical and staffing and budgeting concerns. And it seems like one of these things that when I talk to people in the community, dinner time, that are supporters of Crest and they consider the hours and the staffing, there's a lot of outrage really about it. And that no matter how well the training goes, can you go somewhere else, please? If Crest is closed when people need them, then the call can't go there. And are there things that we can do to support? Have there been any conversations about changing these logistical issues so that the hours are able to go to these peak times, and what needs to happen to get that pressure ramped up?
So if again, this is something that was brought up in the AMSA conference, that all of the alternative mobile services all start out with day hours, okay, and then as things are transitioned, then they go later into the evenings. None of them have started with evening hours. They've all started from 7 to 3, 8 to 4, 9 to 5. And then as more people are hired and that the data is looked at, then that is how the numbers and the rationale behind what times that the department should be open is determined. And at this time, previously, Crest was open later hours. Uh, However, the number of calls that they received was minuscule. So when we were put back down to 6 responders, it was decided that the hours would go to 8 to 4. And again, having more responders would allow us to expand hours. And I will say this, that dispatch is just a small part of the number of calls that we go to. Due to the fact that Crest was not on dispatch to begin with, when was formerly on dispatch, people who utilize Crest will call us directly. So a lot of the things that are happening, for example, um, evictions, those happen in the morning. Um, People who have difficulty with getting to court, those also happen first thing in the morning. So there are a lot of things that happen during the daytime that are not necessarily dispatched calls.
Camille, the conference that you went to, is there a
Yes.
slide deck that was provided that you can share with us?
I'm still waiting for the slides. So once they get through the conference, I can.
Okay, thank you. And
So,
going
oh, go ahead, Ever.
and just going back to Anna's question. So I understand what you said that there is a progression daytime, evening, nighttime. But I think our progression has been going on for quite some time. I mean, we have been trying to get this moving for quite some time, and I think that in every major presentation that we've done, I mean, even in the reports that led to the formation of CRUS, it was always represented that nighttime was important to have CRUS. So
Hmm.
I think Anna's question, and Anna can correct me if I'm wrong, but are there any ongoing conversations now within Crest to say, okay, we need to at least do a test case for different hours and later hours? And I appreciate that people initially were hired for daytime hours, but now that we recognize that there's a need for different hours, is that conversation happening with Crest?
And let me just insist that that is part of what I was asking for sure. But I'm also aware that some of these limitations are coming from outside of CRES in terms of bank center hours or, again, budgeting or things like that. So are there conversations happening within CRES, but also are there any conversations happening between CRES and the other entities that sort of are creating some of these barriers about removing them? So both.
So there has not been any discussion at this point, and the primary reason is that Crest is very busy during the daytime as it stands now, and the data as it stands, looking at the logs or having had a time with the logs, the amount of calls during the evening do not go with the need for Crest to be late night. So someone mentioned 4 to 12. Those hours, when Crest was till 8 o'clock, the number of calls that happened to 4 was minuscule.
Okay, wait. I guess I gotta interject. When was Crest until 8 o'clock? Crest has never
Uh,
been until 8 o'clock.
there was a second shift originally when they had 8
When?
responders.
No, there
In
wasn't.
the be
There was never
in
a
the
second shift.
beginning, there
What
were people
beginning?
that this is what was told to me by people that actually
That
worked. So
is
the original
incorrect.
responders.
Because we've been
So,
here from the beginning, and that is very incorrect. That Crest has never had an evening shift. So this is what I'm saying. This is misrepresentation and falsehood that's been told to you because there has never been a evening shift of Crest. If anything, Crest maybe went to 5 o'clock or something like that, if that, but I don't even remember that. So I don't know where that's coming from, that there was an evening shift of Crest and that there were no calls of Crest. First and foremost, like you've said, if there had been a shift like that, first you have to do the outreach. First, people need to know that Crest is actually out there with an evening shift. So if there was a ghost evening shift, no one knew about it. Okay? So then it can't be utilized then to say that there was no calls if nobody knew that that even existed. Because like I'm telling you, we're the group that's supposed to be overseeing crests and all of that stuff and making sure that everything's in place. And I've never heard of Crest having a shift up until 8 o'clock. Okay, never ever. So if there was, it was some type of ghost shift that no one ever knew about to then say that there was no need for it and there's no need for nighttime shift. There was the leap did a whole review. We paid Leap to do a whole review. And when they looked at the logs of the APD and the logs that were coming in and the types of calls that were coming in from 4 to 12, they certified that there would be a need for crests during that time. Now, I mean, I hear you, Camille. I mean, I don't have any problems with the fact that I'm not trying to say that you all are not doing a great job. You all are doing a great job. But yet, and still, we still need to focus on the fact that CREST is being underutilized. It's not being it's not being dispatched. It's never been dispatched correctly. And I'm sorry that I know for you it's a slow progression, the whole situation. CREST has been in place since 2022. We're 4 years down the road, and they're getting 1 to 6 calls from the APD. That's it. That's period point blank. That's
mhm.
it. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a frustrated community that wants Crest
And
to be in full effect. And I'm happy you all are busy during the day. But you all would always be also be busy during the night if given the opportunity. If you all were actually an alternative to policing, okay? Which means an alternative to policing. I went over that on Monday. That was the charge of CSWG, create a department that's, we were very, very specific that we did not want a social service agency. There's already social service agencies. You all are supposed to be alternative to policing. That means getting dispatch calls. Period, point blank. I'm sorry.
but what you have to understand is I am the director of CREST. I can only run my department. Anything that has to do with APD, the police department, or dispatch has absolutely, I have no standing in making anyone else do what the CSWG or the CSSJC recommended. I can only work within the confines of my job, my title, and my people. And I think that while I understand everyone's frustration, there's only so much I, as Camille Theriac, can do as the director of CREST. I am one person. I have 6 responders and an admin. So while I can think a lot of things and believe that again, I truly believe we need more responders, okay, to be able to expand our hours. At the current time, we don't have the people to expand hours. And I can't make anyone else change how things have been done. All I can do is work within the system that I've been given to make things happen. And I have worked tirelessly to get things as far as they are. And in municipal government, things move slowly. That is not how you know, it's not me that is trying to do this. I am pushing to get things done quicker and more efficiently.
Yeah, I mean, and I get that, but what all I'm saying is that yes, it's almost kind of like making a dollar out of 50 cents, right? Us as Black folks, we're always the ones making a dollar out of 50 cents. So you've been dealt a hand where you're making a dollar out of 50 cents and you're doing a marvelous job. given what you were handed. But what I'm saying though is I get that. Yet and still though, we still want Crest to flourish, right? We still want Crest to reach its full potential, which means being what not just what we were charged with. This was the town. The town said they wanted an alternative to policing, right? And so we all we did was recommend what the town had said that they wanted. So now, since we did make those recommendations and CREST was put into place based on our recommendations as CSWG members, now we need to make that come to fruition. I understand that you can't make that happen. However, I just want you, though, to be able to kind of think, like as if you did have the magic wand to be able to make
And
it happen, what would it look like and how could it look like? Because that's our job, right? CSSJC, we're here to put the pressure to make sure that it happens because we hear is from our constituents, right? I'm getting calls, I'm getting emails from our constituents who are like, Deborah, I need Crest after hours. I need, you know what I'm saying? And I can't get Crest after hours. I wish Crest was, I could call 911 and I could get what's Crest and not the police. I don't want the police. I want Crest. You know what I'm saying? So we're getting those things. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind
mhm.
of like almost like two separate type of situations. There's a situation where, yes, your budget, your staff, and what you're doing, and you're doing work, for double the amount of people. I get that, for the hours and for
and
the
that
budget.
is and that is the problem is that I have 6 people that are trying to perform what 12 to 14 people do in other
Mhm.
departments. So trying to do this work, in all honesty, I am trying what we do during the day, okay, requires a lot more people than what we have now. So, and I've said this and I put it into the budget of, what is it that would take to make Crest? We need a minimum of 10 people. Okay. Then we could do 10 shifts. I mean, we could do 2 shifts because of people calling out, vacations, etc., and
Mhm.
always having two-person teams. So 10 people, and that would allow us to go into the weekends also. And
Mhm.
I've said this right off the beginning because when I came into this, it was a very challenging situation. So here it is 2 years later, and I have less people than what I started with. So I, again, as you said, am making $1 out of 50 cents. So
Mhm.
it's not me, it is the budget. And
Yeah.
I, again, have no control over that. And the frustrations that you have, I have the same frustrations.
Mhm.
And all of my
However,
questions are coming from that perspective of just wanting more crust and wondering if you can identify some of the pressure points that we can hit to try to help support you in that, get you those resources so that you can do that. And just the context of are there already sort of roadblocks in terms of getting more space or more whatever, if you have that
it,
information. If not, we
it
can
it's
investigate. That's all.
honestly,
None of that was
it
saying you're
is.
not doing an amazing job. It's just we want more. Give us more.
Thank you. It is money. It 100% it is money. Okay. And getting more money from the town, reallocation, again, and as a town employee, I I can only say and do so much. So I'm frustrated. I've been frustrated, but I'm doing the best that I can with what I've been given. And I have a really good team.
Mhm.
So,
No,
So
you've
Camille,
been doing marvelous, and I'm going to turn it over to Everald and then Erica.
so Camille, to that point, and as you saw from Monday, um, we raised the issue of all the outreach we did to town council asking for increased funding for CREST. Um, when you did your budget, did you submit a request for 10 people? What was the feedback from the town, from the budget committee on your budget? If you can share that, because again, they were on notice that uh, a strong crest is a crest that needs more people and more money. And so was that request made for the 10 to staff, fully staffed 10 people? And what was the feedback on that, if you can share with us?
So when the town councilors asked questions, that was in our response, and that is in the notes as far as I know, that we did ask that in order to be fully staffed and fully functional and give folks the hours that they are requesting or requiring, that we need 10 people. And it was pretty much the same that, asking about co-response, whether or not press could go as a co-response with the police, which is, absolutely not.
No.
So it was a lot of the same language that I have encountered in the past. There are people that understand what's going on, but again, I can only do so much and I can only say so much.
So, and thank you for that feedback and context. And I mean, I do not believe those requests are confidential, given that this is a public town budget. So I think there's an opportunity here for us to respond, especially if you're getting those kinds of questions to say, you know, council is asking about co-response. I mean, if you're allowed to and can, you should provide us those questions in writing that they're asking. And on your behalf, and as the committee that is charged with making sure Crest is successful, we can respond to say, more education. It's very obvious that still, as much as we try, more education is needed. And
Mhm,
so, now that we know specific questions that are being asked, we can respond to say, okay, we understand that there's still more education needed around CRES, his charge and what they do. And here are some questions that we were made aware of, and here is why we can do this or we cannot do this, and here's why we continue to advocate the independence of CRES and the appropriate funding.
mhm. I can send you those answers. I mean, they are prepped. We had like 3 days to get them to the town council. So I will say that this year, with the questions being asked ahead of time, and being responded to ahead of time, it was a much easier time. I submitted 9 pages of response.
And still people are asking those kind of questions.
Well, they asked him of the police department and whether you know whether Crush should be co-response. And
And
as
I
I've
imagine
stated,
they said no. And I imagine they said no. The police said no. And rightfully so, I hope. Hmm?
the police said no to a co-response.
Yes.
No, they
No.
believe it should be a co-response.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
on the finance committee meeting for the first part of it. I probably should have said it during my memo reports. I totally forgot about that. And I heard Chief Ting say that he would like that his suggestion would be for Crest to be co-response. I heard him say that. I was on the finance committee meeting and I heard him say that.
Yeah, that cannot work. Press as a corresponds means APD takes the lead. No, that cannot work.
Correct.
That's yeah, no.
No, nope, nope. And that would go totally contrary to CSWG recommendations.
Yeah.
Because that was obviously there was different models that were like that co-response and everything. And that was something based on our research that was a no-go. CREST needs to be an independent department, independent from the police.
Well, I will say this, when people talk about Durham as the premier, Durham has 4 different types of response. They have a co-response, they have a response, they also have a follow-up team, and I am blanking on the fourth one. But they all have different jobs in what they're doing. And also, Durham is a very large city, and
Yeah.
they started out with a smaller area and expanded. And the same thing with the hours. They started with very rigid set hours, and as the team grew, they expanded the hours.
And sorry, Erica, just to interject just quickly, just in terms of that, and you know, as I'm thinking about it, that was one of the reasons. Remember, when we looked at all these different models, when CSWG worked on all these different models, we picked the model that we picked based on Amherst because we also have to adapt it to our town, to our population, to our culture. So it couldn't be something like Durham or, you know, like some of the other
Hmm.
ones, Cahoots or so on and so forth, right? We looked at all those different models and I think we took little pieces and parts and this and that, but we had to make it and tailor it towards Amherst, right? Which was very, very key. And that's how Crest was birthed based on the model that we created. But let me turn it over to Erica because she's been patiently waiting.
No, all of the comments really reduced the amount of comments I have. So really good comments. One, again, I just want to reiterate what everyone else said. Camille, this is not about you. This is about the town and about our charge. We are absolutely, right behind you and your responders. You're doing an amazing job. But we want to make sure that you have the resources to do your job. And I just want to say, the letter that's the CSSJC sent clearly responded to co-response that it was not appropriate and why it
Hmm.
wasn't appropriate. So we're constantly going back to the same thing because people are digging their feet in. I think there are enough counselors that we can reach, but I think what we have to reach them on is the budget book before the budget even starts because it's not, we're constantly having these conversations, but it's really about the money and the reallocation of resources. And the police department is always going to say they need more and they want more. And it's going to be a continuous fight. So I think, we should, with our next retreat, really start right from September, getting to all the counselors about supporting CRESS and reallocating resources to CRESS. But my question was more, at your conference, did anybody talk about the possibility of any other resources? I know the feds are not funding alternative policing program because that's the last thing they want to see. But are there any resources that we can help tap into to try to get you also? I mean, it is the responsibility of our town, but at the same time, if we can figure out other ways to get resources. And I have one suggestion, which I don't know if it's going to fly or not. But when I worked at the Department of Public Health, they actually set up a way for people to donate directly to the department. So it didn't go into the general funds for the state. And I'm wondering if that's something that we need to look into as well. Again, not wanting to let the town off the hook, especially around reallocation and re-resourcing for programs that have high impact around alternative policing and around reducing crime and disruption and racism and injustices, but at the same time, looking at other ways to get money to you.
So, as you may know or may not know, June 30th is the last day of the Equitable Approaches to Public Safety, the EAPS program. So after June 30th, CRESS will be relying strictly on the budget set aside by the town. So many of the things that we have been doing and supporting, such as um, the veterans breakfast, et cetera, we've had to look to other departments to get money. And we have a small budget. So I will say this, when it was talking about looking for grants, et cetera, Dan, who is the program manager, will be done with his position. It was grant funded as of June 30th. So we're going to miss him. A lot of the grants that he was able to find are not able to be put into until the fall. So when he leaves, he's leaving me with a list of grants to look into. And I will say there was a grant that he found that I looked at and it looked promising to begin with. However, as I was reading through the grant thoroughly as I do, being that it was a federal grant, it had on the page that the entity that took this grant, for one thing, had to have 20% provided by the town. So that took us out. And then the other part of it was that they would have to work with federal law enforcement. So immediately that was no. So, and I think that is the reason why this grant has continued to have to get extended because of what is going on currently in this country, and supporting um, other federal agencies that ICE that we do not want to.
Yeah.
So we
And
can't be an alternative to policing and be under a federal grant that automatically puts us where we have to be in alignment with ICE and other federal law enforcement.
yeah. And that makes um total sense in terms of what you're saying, Camille, because like what we just learned when we went to the town council meeting on Monday and presented and everything is just like, you know, uh, uh ICE is being able to do all of these different things that they've
Mm-hmm.
been doing in terms of violating the laws, and the police have stated that they're not going to intervene besides recording and documenting and so on and so forth and passing it along to the prosecutors, which then the hurt has already happened. And so for us, we need Crest to stay independent. We need Crest to be able to respond, and that's why we want you all to be,
Mm-hmm.
contacted first to deal with things first. And that's why we didn't want the co-response. And they already have like this co-response with like the clinical person there. But we know that when
Mm-hmm.
they do the co-response with them, they're the ones that are leading the scene. They're the
Mm-hmm.
ones making decisions first and foremost. So they're the ones that are making those decisions, which can already traumatize people that are in crisis and things like that. So yeah, that's not anything that we're interested in. And like I said, I did hear, when I was on the finance committee listening in, meaning, Chief Ting saying that that would be his preferred model, which would be for Crest for it to be a co-response with them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that would not be okay. But I do have another question for you, which is, so I know that they're already going to be voting on a budget. So what was the outcome? Because like you stated, right? You need an assistant director. So
Mm-hmm.
what is his name again? I'm forgetting his name that you just
Dan
mentioned.
Garcia.
Dan Garcia, which was awesome. We ended up meeting him, one of the times that you were, I think, either on a conference or away or something, and he was awesome. You know what I'm saying? So it's just
Mm-hmm.
like we're losing a great person because you don't have the budget for an assistant
Mm-hmm.
director. You need an assistant director. And obviously, like you said, you need to go at least to 10, but as CSWG had stated, I think, we had stated 14
Mm-hmm.
people for Crest to really be kind of more robust and things like that and have the different shifts and everything. So, so what is it? So are you all staying kind of status quo? Is that what the town manager kind of turned
Mm-hmm.
in?
As our budget is stated, that was what we were, that there are two positions that are frozen will remain frozen.
Oh, unbelievable. And no funding for an assistant director, nothing
No,
like that.
no.
It's just, yeah. And and Erica, just to kind of respond to you, is just like, remember, we met with them in November. I get it that we could have met even September, 2 months earlier, but we met in November and sent in, remember, we sent in those documents to them right away in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
budget. And we told them right away what we were requesting in terms of making sure that Crest would be fully staffed. So I really believe like we presented and we sent in the documents right away,
Mm-hmm.
to the town manager and the town council. And that's why we wanted to state them in our presentation that we did on Monday to showcase, like document that we did our job here. We asked for what we needed early on. It just was yet again ignored. You know what I'm saying? And Crest, like I said, and I know others in this committee get contacted by constituents who are like, Crest needs to be fully funded. Crest needs a budget. They see what you're doing. They know that you need the help, that you need an assistant director, that you need more responders. How are you going to be able to do what the constituents are asking that the town, have you do if you don't have the budget, the resources, the people to be able to do it? So it's not okay. It's definitely on the town. And that's why we did that report card on Monday to really showcase how they are, failing. at making sure that you all have what you need to be able to serve our community. Other questions, comments, concerns?
I just want to say I definitely support what Erica said, and I appreciate hearing since I wasn't on the committee at that point. And I hope that we can do that early and submit it to the town, and then also make sure that there's accountability, not just from us, but from the people who know that, there was success in having Crest established, but don't necessarily pay attention to everything that's happening now. So I hope that we can do that and can keep some energy behind it so that
Yeah,
it's
Anna,
harder.
yeah, if you look at all the attachments that we attached to um our presentation for Monday, it has all the different communications we made to the town council, which was
Yeah.
focused on the budget and everything else. And that
Yeah.
was like we met with them on the 3rd, and then we sent some like 2 documents in November, like shortly thereafter,
Yeah.
because we knew we needed to get that in early enough in terms of for the budget season,
Yeah.
and yet
And
and still nothing happened.
this year, I sort of am still learning how this process was in the late part able to start sort of passing word that this is something that, town members should be putting their voice behind. And hopefully you can start doing that earlier in the cycle this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So we sent one on November 13th, and then we sent another, both on budgets, November 18th, all on budgets. So,
And again, as people should know that as of July 1st, it will be truly the first time that Crest will be working just within the town budget. There are currently no grants that are available or that we could apply for. So as soon as I find any or see any, I will apply for them.
yeah. And like you said, Camille, I mean, it's a lot more difficult right now because of all the restrictions that are going on
Hmm.
nationwide, and the kind of stripping away from doing these very critical work that we need done. So that's why the town needs to show up. The town needs to be the one to increase the funding. I get it that everything is, that times are tough. But the thing is that when times are tough, who are the ones that suffer the most? Those that are
Hmm.
BIPOC and those who are on the margins, those that need the assistance, right? It's
Those
our
that can
community.
least afford it.
Exactly. And so they're the ones, as even the League of Women Voters put in their reports, that need Crest the most, that utilize Crest the most. And you
Hmm.
all don't have the people to be able, you help them. Again, let me be very clear. You all are doing an excellent job. You help them with what you can do. But just imagine if the town actually gave you the budget, gave you the staffing, gave you, the assistant director, gave you what you needed, right? So that you were able to help more people. You see what I'm saying? I mean, that's
Hmm.
that's the thing that we're trying to impress upon the town, that it's not okay. And as Avril said at the town council meeting, which is a great point, it's really limited vision, right? Because you're putting money now, but long term, you're saving money because that means less people dealing with mental health, or possibly hospitals, or having to go through the court
Hmm.
system, and families falling apart, and all of those things, right? Which was all the things that CSWG had thought about. That's why we said Youth Empowerment Center, Multicultural Center, because you got to start at the root, right? And so with Crest, that's where you all start the root in terms of connecting them to the resources and the warm handoff, right? So that then people can get the help that they need to get. So it's very short vision. It's very short vision from the town, and the way that they're doing things, yelling and screaming, "Oh, we don't have the budget. We don't have the budget." No, you have the budget because really long term you're saving a ton of money when our
Hmm.
residents are actually whole and healthy. So I'll turn it
Hmm.
over to Anna.
I just that reminded me, and agree with you, Deborah, like it should be on the town, but also to make sure that we don't have Crest shrinking to the point where we don't have the day that we need to show them how great it is. If you were able to connect with Paige, the person, the public health person who has some experience with grant writing, um,
Hmm.
I know that you and Dan had emailed with her, and we're going to connect
Hmm.
soon. If not, I I can poke her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure because I've been busy with budget and everything else. So Dan has been taking the lead on that.
Okay. I'll follow up with him and with her if that has gotten lost in everything else that's going on in the world.
Hmm.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Allegra is in.
Oh, hey, Allegra. And Lisette too. Lisette is here. I know that we were in conversation when Lisette came on board. So, Allegra, can you hear us?
Yep. Can you hear me?
And Lisette, can you hear us?
Sure
And we
can.
we can hear you. Awesome. All right. Um, all right. Any other questions for Camille Ronquest? Okay. All right. If not, then we'll turn it to DEI. I know that there's no one here from DEI, but they do have a report that they turned in for June, July. Let me see here. So they have some interns. I don't know. Would you be able to like put it on screen by any chance, Camille? Just so then folks can follow along.
I actually do not have a copy of it.
Okay. Let me see if I can share. All right. Can you all see the report?
Yes, but you have to make it bigger.
Okay, let me see here. How can I make it? Okay, here it is. Is that better? I'll do it bigger.
Yes.
Okay, that works. Okay. So, DI interns, so they have Roy Mann as a new intern from UMass. Roy's a public relations and marketing major entering his senior year. There were monthly staff trainings that will resume in September. The department has completed all town department trainings for the fiscal year. Individualized department training will resume in September. The Youth Career Fair was held on May 27, 2026, with the following town staff and community members participating. So they had Dr. Ete, Sergey Fedorovsky, Town of Amherst Information Technology Department, Sarah Forsyth or Saith, I might mess up the last names, Town of Amherst Fire Department, Liz Haygood, retired from Amherst Regional Public Schools, Cecilia Jezek, Jones Library, Olivia Lara Calhoun, Town of Amherst Department of Public Health, Dr. Susan Lowry, retired family practice physician, Sean Mangano, Town of Amherst Finance Department, and Pamela from the DI Department. Community Wellness and Resiliency Conversation, the Town Public Health, CREST, and Diversity, Equity, Inclusion departments are hosting a series of community conversations designed to acknowledge harm, provide support, and promote wellness in response to multiple recent events in town. Topics will focus on the impacts of domestic violence, racism, and the closure of Hampshire College, as well as overall community wellness and resiliency. The four-part series includes events so there's already two that happened May 28th. Well, there's another one's happening tomorrow, June 11th, then another one June 18th and June 25th, each facilitated by a local community member. So you can register. I'm assuming if you go on their website, the DAI, DI, you can register for the sessions. As Camille has said, this is going to be the Human Rights Commission Youth Hero Awards. That's from 11 to 2 p.m. at the Mill River. Amherst Pride on the 28th. And if you want to volunteer, you can sign up to volunteer. So Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Department invites you to join us at the town's July 4th celebration on July 3rd. We'll be tabling with copies of the U.S. Constitution, buttons, and stickers. Spin the wheel to test your knowledge of the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And then Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Department invites you to view a celebration criticism of the U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights through a display and timeline that reviews the development, expansion, retraction, or voting and other rights titled, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, but," and then there's going to be the reading of Frederick Douglass together. That's going to be on Sunday, July 5th at 3 p.m. And then Jones Library, the Rec Department, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Department invite you to the Commission for Persons with Disabilities, Disability Pride events on the 16th of July. And on July 20th, the Kids Room at Jones 101 University will host a themed story time on Thursday, July 16th, 11 to 11:30 in celebration of Disability Pride Month. Paralympian Juan Dixon will join as a special guest. On July 20th, Paralympian Tori Dixon will give a talk under the pavilion at Mill River. Ms. Dixon won medals in swimming. Following her talk, town staff will tour the recent ADA improvements to the pavilion and walkway, and rec staff will review sensory and adaptive equipment for the pool. So there's a whole schedule in terms of how that day is going to go. That, I believe, is the report from DI. I guess
I
Go
I
ahead.
just want to make mention just before I forget all of this that for July 3rd for the Independence Day celebration, yours truly is going to be the MC. So come out, listen to me, talk to everybody, and do my thing. So it's a lot of fun. Now that Hadley or Northampton canceled theirs, I think that the McGurk Stadium outside there, it's going to be a wonderful time. There's a lot of space for a lot of people. We're also going to have disability parking and a van to shuttle folks, elders and disabled folks to the area to be able to sit for the fireworks. So, and Cress will be on hand to work also in the stadium and outside the stadium. So I'm always looking forward to it. It'll be my third year being the MC, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm
Are you all
encouraging
doing it
everybody to show up.
Are you all doing it on the 4th, or is this the
It's on
third?
the third. It's
The
on the
third, right?
third.
Okay.
hmm
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. That sounds great.
So come on out.
Any other questions or comments? All right. So, Resident Oversight Board, GOL update. I don't know, Allegra, if you have any updates on that.
It does sound as if the next GOL meeting, they will be taking back up the Resident Oversight Board. I believe, let's see, there was a GOL meeting yesterday, so I believe it's 2 weeks from yesterday. So that would bring us to the,
Okay,
what's
2 weeks.
the date?
That would be the 23rd.
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 Okay. I will be out of town, so I
Mhm.
won't be able to attend. But if anyone wants
What,
to go sit, and I think they meet 6:30 to 8:30 the Tuesday night.
6:30 to 8:30.
and it's Zoom?
It's on Zoom, yeah.
Okay,
So
I
do
can
you know,
volunteer. I can volunteer to do that.
yeah.
Excellent.
Do you know if that's going to be the day they'll vote which model they're going to be bringing to the town council?
I think that was the plan. Erica, you could probably get in touch with Hala,
Okay.
or Amber Cano Martin or Anna Devlin Gauthier are I know, they were, and who else is on I think it's George Ryan and Lynn Griesmer are the other, I think that's the full committee. So I think Anna is the chair
I'll
and
contact her.
yeah.
But I think we need to, if they're doing a vote, because it's 5 members, right?
Mhm.
I think that it might be split, so we need to like figure out strategy in terms of contacting those members that we can talk to in
Yeah.
terms of investigation and things like that. So, because you said Amber, who else? Anna,
Hala.
Hala. Okay, so Hala
Um,
and Amber, but I think Anna, is there anyone that can reach out to Anna before the 23rd?
Well, I'm gonna reach out to Anna. She's the
Anna
chair.
Beverly?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you can reach out to her, but when you reach out to her though, it's really to say that it's going to be imperative, for them to um vote in the investigative, because I really feel like if they end up voting the review, it's just going to cause so much distrust amongst the community that it's going to be
I,
terrible.
I'm in District 3. I can reach out to George Ryan
okay.
because
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in two. I can send a message to Lynn.
To Len. Okay. Yeah, and obviously Amber and Hala, we know that they're on board with the investigative. So we want to utilize our energy as best as possible. So by contacting some of these other ones, these
Mhm.
other counselors would be the better way to go. Okay. All right. Um, our next one is ICE update, Sanctuary City bylaw. I don't know if Allegra, if you have
Um,
any.
so obviously we were all at the meeting on Monday. In terms of updates to the bylaw, I believe that I've, sorry, my daughter's in the background. I believe that there were some attempts to kind of meet with some members of the immigrant community to review some of the changes that were being proposed prior to bringing it to the council, and that's proven to be a little bit difficult just because of the sensitive nature of things and people, again, feeling fearful and distrustful of the government. So that makes sense. So I think it's still in process, and I think that they're trying. I think perhaps based on what we heard at the meeting on Monday, thinking about areas where it might need to be strengthened, and I think that Councillor Cano Martin was certainly looking at towns that have pretty strong sanctuary agreements or have had pretty protective interactions with ICE. So I think they were some of the ones they were looking at were like Chelsea, Lynn, Somerville, some of the eastern part of the state. So I do believe it's in progress, but I think there's still some steps that they'd like to try and take prior to bringing it forward.
Do we have someone from this committee looking at the bylaws?
That is a good point, Everald, and I don't think we do, but if that is something you'd be interested to look at, I can certainly send your name along.
Yes, please, I would be.
All right, perfect.
And do you know when? Because I might have missed it because I know I was like, I stepped away for a little bit. Do you know by when they're trying to bring it before the town council?
I don't know. I think as soon as they can, but also knowing that they want to make sure it's
Gets as
something
strong
that,
as possible.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, based on the conversation that we had, and I know we're going to be talking more about it when we do the debrief of the council. Yeah, I mean, we do need to make sure that the language is very clear in terms of what we're looking for, because we do have to provide some more protections because it appears that obviously the town manager and the chief are just, working within whatever span they feel they can, that's the only kind of parameters they can work in, but really leaves people vulnerable, I feel, in terms of immigrants and, family, friends, neighbors, and they're already afraid. They're not willing, they're afraid to go out and about. And, based on the conversation we had on Monday, they're going to be even more afraid. Other questions, comments? Our next agenda item is the flyer response. So there's an event on June 13th, and I believe it's sponsored by the League of Women Voters, right?
I saw Bridge for Unity, but I don't know if the League of Women Voters is also involved with
Oh,
it.
okay. So, I mean, you probably know more than me. I think I had read that somewhere too.
Let me see.
But it's, what did you say, Bridge for Unity? They're the ones that
I
are
think so.
funded
Yeah.
for? Okay. All right. So anyone who is available, do you know where it's happening and the time?
Let me pull that information up. Natalia. Shh.
Yeah, because I saw here, I
Okay,
think I have it.
here it is. Okay.
So, yeah,
Um,
join Bridge for You and your neighbors to explore how we want to respond as a community in the face of the hatred and bigotry, June 13th, 2 to 4 p.m., the Unitarian Society of Amherst, 121 North Pleasant Street. So this is dealing with on April 29th, a racist letter was distributed in Amherst. On June 13th, 2026, Bridge for Unity, a grassroots organization devoted to interracial, intercultural dialogue to advance democracy, will hold a public dialogue at the Unitarian Society of Amherst. So I know I can't be there because I have other things going on that day. Is there anyone from our group that is available to kind of go and then maybe report back?
I'm sorry, when is it?
So it is on Saturday, June 13th, 2 to 4 p.m. at the Unitarian Society of Amherst, 121 North Pleasant Street.
June 13th, this Saturday.
This Saturday.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't do that one. I'm actually in the eastern part of the state on Saturday.
Okay. Anyone else
Same,
available?
I'm sorry.
I'll be at a
I
kid's.
can't make it.
Okay. All right. So maybe what we can do is maybe I can I'll reach out to Kathleen and see if she can provide any information in terms of like report out around the Kathleen Anderson regarding what they discussed and things like that. So, and then I can report back at our next meeting. Okay. All right. I mean, I guess the last thing I want to say though about the racist letter is that the town did do the response, but like I said, I mean, it was definitely through monitoring, because I know I was contacting the town manager pretty much on a daily basis to find out, what they were going to be doing and things like that. And then, as we reported on Monday, the town council never sent a statement or anything like that. And the next on the letter, it said that the next time was going to be, I think, July 4th or what have you, and then there was going to be another date in September maybe 1st and 2nd or something like that, that they were going to be around. So for me, it's just like, there still needs to be monitoring and things like that for the dates that was stated on that letter. And at the end of the day, like I said, whether it was a hoax or not, I don't care because the sentiments on there were vile sentiments, and it really intimidated and made I know it made me and a bunch of folks that are black and brown very afraid to live in this community. So um as I stated, this needed to be taken extremely seriously, and everyone should be outraged by the fact that this was out and about. The next one is regarding the Youth Empowerment Center funds and location. Um, so didn't he get any other updates from the town manager? And as you all know, when we were at the meeting and we presented on the Youth Empowerment Center, the town manager basically said he was going to get back to the town council in regards to the questions that we asked. And so we're asking, one, the Youth Empowerment Center had been allocated $500,000 originally. Then $50,000 was used for some study, which he said admitted to at the Monday meeting that it was something to look at locations or something like that. some survey, which was the first time I had heard that. I had heard that there was some type of, you know, consultant money that was used, but we've never gotten any type of, report or anything from that $50,000. And then 450 was in free cash, supposedly to protect it from it being utilized or taken away from us. But as we know, there's been other town councilors saying, well, there's free cash. Why don't we use that money for other expenditures in the town? So it's not safe. And now with Wildwood, um, coming online, we need to utilize that space not only for the Youth Empowerment Center, but also for the Multicultural Center. We need to put pressure on for this to happen, because if we miss this opportunity, because remember, we've been talking about this since 2021, and the major reason that they haven't established the Youth Empowerment Center is because there's no location. Now there's a location. Now what's going to be the next excuse? You see what I'm saying? And yet again, no budget has been allocated for the establishment of the Youth Empowerment Center. No identification to say, okay, yeah, this is where we want it to go. And then, Multicultural Center isn't even talked about, as a place, something to establish. So we really need to put the pressure in regards to that. And so for us, I think what's going to be important is for us to follow up with the town councilors in regards to it, because we saw at the meeting that Sam McLeod was very interested in establishing the Youth Empowerment Center. And then I know that, Jill Breivik and Amber Kenna Martin are also other town councils that I think are very much on board. And I'm sure Alicia and Amber, I mean, Alicia and Howla too. So we need to think this through in terms of like I know I can contact Sam because I already started kind of talking to him a little bit about this. And our sons went in soccer together for many years. So, so he's someone that I feel very comfortable kind of reaching out to. But I think you all need to think about what are other town councilors that you all can reach out to, because we cannot miss this opportunity of establishing Youth Empowerment Center and Multicultural Center at the Wildwood location. And then the next one, a good seg, right?
I
Oh,
do
go
want to
ahead.
ask this question,
Yeah.
Deb, because I know I have been wild a few times, and yes, I would say it is ideal. It has parking, off-street parking. It's well settled off this street. There's bus stops already embedded. Um, but we may need more than the $450,000.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, definitely.
Yeah.
No, remember when I said that at the town council, I said we just need to earmark the 450, but we need money for
Okay.
staffing, for running the programs, for establishing the Youth Empowerment Center. Yeah, we need a lot more money.
Okay. Because there will be need the building will need some work, a lot of work.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Or feasibility, all of that study, not feasibility because I think it would be feasible, but just a study in terms of how much it would cost, like you said, to fix the building itself, and to, for the staff salaries, and also for the programming, all the resources that it's going to take to run a center.
Yeah. And there's strong arguments to be made. I mean, it is a school. It has youth facilities already embedded with a playground and all those things that kids can already do without. So, yes, the building may need some work, but in the grand scheme of things, choosing it as the site is a potential cost savings because it has unique amenities that can be easily transitioned, um, that will save the town money.
Yes.
So yes, I hope, I agree with you. We should really try to sell this as much as possible, um, for it to happen. So yes, if any we should really work on like a definitive plan for Wildwood. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like we were saying, I think it's gonna have to be these town councilors, to kind of, you know, um, for us to reach their ears so that they can, put in a resolution or whatever they need to do, to make this happen. Because, like you said, not just the fact that it already has certain things embedded, but also the location. It's very close to town, it's very close to UMass. I said if there was activities for them to walk over to go to different activities at UMass. It's close to, all the different, it's close to everything. And it's very known. Like young people know Wildwood, you know what I'm saying? Um, so the location is actually perfect for our needs in terms of what we're looking for. All right, but we can let's just one second, but we can think more about it because I think we, besides the town councils and we can contact, we really need to be strategic. So I want us to kind of think about it so that we can come back and really spend some time putting together a plan for the Youth Empowerment Center. Lisette?
Um, where did we leave off in terms of the $50,000 that were used for the research purposes or whatever it is that Paul mentioned? Is he supposed to get a report or get all those documents together?
Yes, yes, that's where he said that he was going to, send a report to the town council, kind of clarifying a bunch of those questions that we had asked that he said he didn't have answers for. And that's included in it should be in the report.
Okay. So does he have a time deadline for that or?
There wasn't a time deadline, so we need to kind of follow up. Does anyone know how we can find that out?
Oh, it seems like maybe reaching out to Mandy Joe and just saying, we wanted to make sure that whatever questions were collected for Paul at the meeting are sent to him, and we'd like to know a time frame for when to expect an answer on them. And how will that information be delivered to the CSSJC as well as the town council?
No. So I can do that. I can contact Manny Joe, find out that information. Okay.
Yep, thanks.
All right. So yeah, other thoughts in terms of the town council debrief? I guess like I'll just kind of just share with the community, like folks that weren't there, that we spent about an hour between CSSJC, Human Rights Commission, and Town Council to kind of ask questions of the town manager and Chief Ting around ICE and the executive order that the town manager had sent out. And a lot of what the town manager and Chief Ting said was that, they share resources. They're obviously, you know, you know, not collaborating with ICE per the order, but that they're limited in terms of jurisdiction because they're the federal government, federal law, and then the state law. So if, for instance, we asked a lot of questions, if they were to see them violating, Massachusetts law, by being violent or by, doing things that obviously are illegal, whether they would intervene, and they said they would not, the police would not intervene because that's a federal, you know, interaction, and they would not be able to do that because of town liability and risk and so on and so forth. Um, but of course, there was lots of questions. I know I asked a question in terms of like, well, if they're being unlawful and illegal, why wouldn't they, intervene? And even if they were to be found to be liable or at risk, why wouldn't the town, defend and also spend time researching that? So that's actually part of, what the town manager is supposed to get back to the town council is, you know, um, if let's say a police officer was to intervene and then get arrested or what have you, whether the town would defend them. And then, Chief Ting also said that, oh, they would get impacted by post possibly get fired by post because of posts. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case. So, you know, supposedly they're going to be researching that too. But I think we need to do our own research also to see that. Because at the end of the day, it's just like, you know, if you're seeing a crime happening right there, you know, they said the only thing that they could do is document, take pictures, and then send it to the prosecutor, but the crime has already taken place, the person is already injured. So, you know, I get it. Okay, that after the fact they can get prosecuted, but the trauma has already occurred, the injury has already occurred. So, Anna?
One question I'd had for them that I'm just wondering if y'all have any take on it, because I didn't get a chance to ask it, was that it seemed like he was very clear on like if there were an incident, if there were somebody being abducted and they wouldn't interfere in that case because of liability. But there's also the whole part of the statewide, it was an executive order, whatever it was about, that I think was included in the town, saying basically they can't stage things on certain properties. They can't certain things where it doesn't have to do with obstruction of justice. They didn't seem to address whether they would enforce that and like remove federal officers from places they're not supposed to be based on those bylaws or state regulations. I was wondering if you guys had any feeling on that or if I'd missed anything that they had addressed or.
Erica, I don't know if you wanted to, are you responding to that or asking another question?
I wasn't responding, but what I just want to say is that for 2.5 hours, they were extremely vague. And I think, you and the other members of both the Human Rights Committee and the Town Council, rightfully so, is asking them to be much clearer, much more direct. And I think, it's just legalese and politics hiding behind we don't do hypotheticals. Well, when you have a resolution, you then have a policy. When you have a policy, then you have protocols. When you have protocols, then you have training. Everything is based on that. So it's just, I just found it really disturbing. And that is why I said we need to be funding impactful services in Amherst. And right now, I don't believe the APD is at all impactful at all. So I do believe we should be pushing them specifically on, if this is the bylaw, how do you implement it? It's a bylaw. You should have protocols now, not until, don't wait until it happens. And I just want to say, which I didn't say then,
We
but
don't have a bylaw yet, though, or do we? We have a bylaw?
well, we have a resolution.
Yeah.
And we have state, it was written in the executive, in the response. It was actually written in the response that, and I think Governor Healy also stated that they will not use public spaces for staging. So I think it was in the response. But also, they kept on saying this is unprecedented. If this is unprecedented, then we should have an unprecedented response, not a precedented response. And I just want to commend you, Deborah, for switching the narrative from, well, we're going to cover our butts by making sure that we in the town are not liable versus why don't we figure out how we protect our police officers who are doing their job in terms of public safety and justice and get ready with our attorneys and with resources that when they do their job to interfere when there's illegal things happening, that they will be protected by doing their job. And I think that was a great question that really was not responded to.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think like what you said, Erica, I mean, a lot of it was very vague. And then Anna, in terms of like, they did say that, right? They stated that, if they're on public properties and things like that, they're not supposed to be there. But they were very vague in terms of like, will they ask them to leave? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know if there was a clear answer.
It's like a pretty low-hanging place to
Exactly.
actually have a sign.
I don't think I don't think they were vague in asking them to leave. They are not going to ask them to leave. I think to everyone's point, the only thing that was very clear and definitive is the avoidance of confrontation. And um, to an extent, I understand um, why. And one of the questions I wanted to ask, which I didn't get a chance, was it's how much federal money do we get? Because that is a factor. Let's be real. They are, and considering that, but there are not that many federal properties in Amherst. There really aren't. So there can be definitive um, bylaws that say that if ICE is in town, they're only allowed to operate on or stage on federal property. And I know I don't know the entirety of Amherst, but I know there's some USDA properties. I know there's the post office. um, but there are not that many federal properties in Amherst. So to that end, if we say you can only stage from here, it limits their options. And that is a definitive response that the community can appreciate and something that they should say and adopt. So yes, I think and this goes back to earlier we were talking about you know the sanctuary bylaws. I think those are things that should be added to things like that. To limit what they can do. But yes, the the vagueness for me wasn't very vague. I understood exactly what it meant. It is we are not going to be confrontational at all. Yeah, it's to everyone's point. It is liability. It is a problem. But again, I think it also comes down to we do not want to ruffle feathers, um, and there is federal funding behind this somewhere that needs to be considered. So, and one of the questions I did ask, you know, and to say, okay, you're not going to be confrontational, and I hear what you're saying and understand why, but the Northwestern District Attorney's Office said that you bring us a case, we'll prosecute. Do you have it documented in your policy to say we will bring the Northwestern District Attorney a case? I don't think, I'm not sure we got that definitive answer or if that's in any policy. I don't know if Amherst PD has that directive to say, even though we have policy that says you shouldn't engage, here's our policy that says you will present these facts and findings to Northwestern District Attorney when you recognize that these people are breaking the law. And then, of course, it came back to we've only had two instances of ICE in Amherst.
Well, they said one, actually.
Yeah,
I was the one that said I know of at least two.
yeah.
And I know everybody, there's people that know of more than that and everything. And they're like, oh, we only know about one. So, which goes again towards, the fact that one, they're not being very intentional in terms of, making sure that ICE is not in our community. And two, people are afraid and they're not going to the police. They don't trust the police. And I don't blame them. After what I heard on Monday, I wouldn't trust the police either. Because it's like we're not going to intervene. If they're breaking the law, they are protected. They are protected by the federal law, according to Chief Ting and the town manager, to do whatever they want to do, to racial profile, to injure, to commit violence, to disappear people, kidnap, all of those things. So and Amherst PD is not going to do anything to stop that.
And I wanted
So
to clarify, I'm sorry, Deborah, I wanted to
okay.
clarify something that I had asked of Chief Ting. So on Monday, I'd asked a question, okay, since we know that ICE is traveling in unmarked cars and wearing masks, um, what have we done to verify that they are in town? And I think the response was we cannot surveil people. So I was not asking for us to surveil people. That was not my question. When I said, there's more things APD can do, APD does patrols. And as I pointed out, there are not that many entrances to Amherst. So APD can set up officers because they usually do. If I'm driving on certain streets, I know that there's going to be a cop car right there or somewhere. So they can utilize these patrols to, they see unmarked cars coming into town that we know federal, it's like a federal uniform, SUV, blacked out, or, you know, if there's sometimes unidentifiable information, um, verify, run the plates, nothing comes up, pull the car over, have them tell you, why they're here. So I wasn't suggesting, make sure that that's clear. I wasn't suggesting that we surveil people, but if APD is out doing patrols, they have the resources to verify if an unmarked SUV enters the town of Amherst that we know looks like a federal car, that's another way to verify if they are here as, so I just want to put that out there. The question wasn't about surveillance. It was about APD actively doing patrols, to these points of entry, verifying, from an outset. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it went along with like my question to them, which was, yeah, if I'm committing a crime, then you're arresting me, right? But yet with them, they're committing a crime, you're just letting them do whatever they want and, taking pictures to then prosecute thereafter, maybe, because like you said, it doesn't even seem like supposedly they're documenting, but would they actually bring that forward to the district attorney's office? And that's the same thing with this, right? They do survey us. They do have patrols to patrol us, but they're not doing anything to patrol ICE. You know what I'm saying? Knowing that ICE is in our community, like you said, is very telltale. I've seen, them, some of these cars, around, and then, as we start following them and stuff like that. And a lot of times that kind of dissuades them and they kind of go away. Because I remember one that I followed that was like, um, in different like neighborhoods in Amherst and stuff like that. And then they kind of went along their way, right? So it's just kind of like, so I'm just a resident and I was able to spot them. I'm just like, so you're the police and you haven't been able to spot them, and you're saying that you've only seen one incident possibly of them in our community? I'm just like, what? That that makes me have zero trust that they're doing anything to protect our immigrant neighbors and family and friends. Because like I said, it's just like that was very like that was terrifying, because like I said, they're spending their time surveying us and arresting us and everything and just letting ICE be free and and do whatever they want, whatever they need to do. Any other questions or comments around ICE, and then we can talk a little bit about the second part, the CSWG recommendations portion. So with the CSWG recommendations portion, myself and Allegra did a presentation um, to kind of go over the status of the recommendations. And I mean, you know, little to nothing has changed. And, the only thing that changed from when we went there to present in November was that supposedly dispatch started, but as we saw, it was been a 2% increase since, the protocols were put in place in January. Um, but this time again, the town council said that they are going to get these reports from the town manager. So we're gonna have, gonna have to wait and see how that happens. And supposedly we are going to be meeting more regularly with the town council on these issues because we need to continue the pressure. If we don't continue the pressure, it's not going to happen. So, and as we saw with the kind of the recommendations and the priority areas, most of them are not complete. That's basically the bottom line. Other thoughts, questions, concerns? Erica?
I actually think the fact that we go in front of town council is how we get movement. So again, I want to commend you and Allegra for working with Hala to get us on schedule because that was one of the goals at the retreat, and we were able to get on there. So the last time we were there, some of the town councilors were very surprised that Crest was not on dispatch, and then the resolution took place with some hiccups, but it did pass, and they were put on dispatch. I think now people are also surprised that they're only getting 2% of the calls. So, the question then goes to the town manager, and it seems that the town manager only answers our questions via the town council. So, I know it's almost like one step forward, two steps backwards, but we are slowly pushing the town council to be aware of what's going on and making them ask the questions of the town manager. And it's unfortunate that's the only way we're getting our answers. But I just want to thank the two of you for doing this. I know how frustrating it is to redo the slide deck and keep on saying nothing has moved, but we are making slow movement and slow progress. And I think having Sam make that statement, I think was very powerful. So I think we're raising their awareness. It seems that the letters we send sometimes go on deaf ears. It just I think our presence is really what moves the town council. So it's good that we go at least twice a year, but if we have to go 3 or 4 times, then we should.
Mhm. Yeah, and I want to thank, Jill Brevick, because she, also was very essential in terms of getting us on, not only, for the CSWG, but also for ICE, to make sure that the three of us were at the table. And yeah, I mean, it's disingenuous to me, in terms of the town manager, just because we were there in November, we had presented all of those questions. And so then when they started asking him the questions for him to say, oh, no, I don't have the answer to you for you today, I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense to me, you know? It just, it's disingenuous, because you should have been prepared, and you should have had the answers there for us that day. So I'll follow up with Mandy Joe and see when and how, and and then when he sends his answers, we'll be able to follow up. But like you said, Eric, I think we need to continue to stay on their schedule and continue to go in front of them and say, okay, where are we at with this? Where are we at with this? Other questions, comments, concerns?
I just wanted to chime in and say it did feel nice to not have a meeting with the town council end in like a nuclear ending of the meeting by one counselor saying, let's stop this. So that was a positive for me. And I do think it seemed like there were more counselors than I would have anticipated that were willing to ask some questions and questions that made sense and questions that I feel like would move certain things, especially like crest hours, for example, in a direction that lines up. I mean, obviously we want them to be 24/7, but we also want them to be working in a time frame where they would be receiving calls from dispatch, and that, back in 2021, the LEAP report had a different idea of what that might look like. So I do think that I was pleasantly surprised by the reception on Monday. So that's all. That's all I want to say. I mean, we still need to keep on them, but
Any other thoughts?
I just think that it was really nice to have both of those conversations together in the same night, and it felt cohesive because there are so many overlaps between the immigrant community and the communities that use the services of Crest and need a multicultural center and all that in Amherst, that those questions are so closely tied together, and that continuing to use that energy, I think hopefully will be helpful, in getting more allies and more backing, not siloing it into sort of two big separate issues.
All right, folks. So, next one we have is a membership update. Um, so I know that Allegra has an update for us, which I'm not too happy about.
Do I have an update? I have decided to step down from my term, so this unfortunately will be my last meeting. My term ends the end of June. And I was hoping that I could have made it to the whole meeting. It's part of the reason I'm stepping down is just the moving parts of having two young kids and lots of meetings has worn me down. But my daughter was in a lovely play this afternoon, and my son had a baseball game, and there are two of them going in different directions, and they can't drive yet. So, but I do really, it's bittersweet because I think this group, especially with our new members, um, and some of the recent, you know, direction that I think we've taken, it's been, I feel like we've seen some movement in the past couple of months. So it's an exciting time for the committee, I think. And it's, I think, also a good time to step away because I think it's in really good hands. And it's just been an honor and a privilege to work with all of you. And it's not like I'm going away. Like I will still be a thorn in the side of whoever doesn't want to support your recommendations. So you won't hear the last of me tonight, that's for sure. But I will no longer be the co-chair with Ms. Deborah. So it's very sad. And the decision that I had to make for my family and myself. So I just wanted to appreciate all of you for all of your hard work and helping me learn and grow.
It is sad. And however, I think I'm sure everyone will say something, but you know, your advocacy, tireless advocacy, is one of the things that has propelled us to where we are. You have been thoughtful and consistently ensuring that important perspectives are heard and considered. You outreach in to town staff and people that some at times don't even respond. um, Being willing to put yourself out there, your commitment, integrity, and willingness to speak up on behalf of others, it has made a meaningful difference to both our work, our culture as a committee, and to the community as a whole. And so, we all understand that decisions are hard, and I would say you are making the right one for your family, and we all do that, and so we appreciate and understand that. And maybe, you know, it will you can spend the next 2 years planning your run for town council. Yeah.
Don't you
Yeah.
dare.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I will miss you, and hopefully I get to see you around Belchertown Courthouse again at some
Hopefully.
point, or at gymnastics, regardless. But yeah, yeah, and about in the town. But again, your tireless advocacy, all that you do, and I know you continue to do. Thank you, and I am very serious about the run for town council. Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah,
Emerald.
yeah.
And as Evel has done, I'm opening it up to others to please go around and thank Allegra for her just tremendous work that she's done on this committee as a member and as a co-chair. Erica?
I don't even know where to start. I agree with what Everell just said. Allegra, you're absolutely amazing. And I've worked with Allegra on two committees. And I was very excited to know that Allegra and Deborah were co-chairs on this one. I think the two of you so complement each other. And you've been wonderful leaders in terms of inclusivity, onboarding new members, making sure that we have an opportunity to participate. And you are absolutely like inclusive leaders, seeing this whole committee as we're all responsible versus just the two of you. So it just has been amazing to watch the two of you. And Allegra, the way you speak, the way you think so comprehensively. And I know that you are in the community. You just don't talk about things. You're actually active in the community. It's just really amazing how you do manage with two little kids and still, two committees. Always been there, always, supporting, the two of you supporting each other, and always so thoughtful and really just, bringing in the lived experiences of those people that you've worked with as well as your own. So it's not about data, it's not about, anecdotes, it's about the lives we live. And it's just really, I'm just really in awe of and inspired. So hopefully I can live up to the work that you do. I know Deborah will keep me true to myself in doing that. And this committee is just amazing. And we will absolutely continue the work that you and Deborah have, put together and paved forward, to honor, the work that you've been doing. And that we'll always stay in touch and, we'll always see each other in the community because you're always in the community. So I think it is really critical that we as women and as people of color take care of ourselves and our families. And so I know how hard it is for you to make this decision because you have always given yourself and taken care of your family. But when your family needs you, then it takes really courage to say, okay, it's time to step back a little bit and take care of your family. So we know you'll still be an advocate. We know that we can call on you. We know that you'll be there for us, and we're here for you. So when you run for town council, or you want us to pass along a message, or you have some feedback, we're here for you. And thank you for always being there for us.
Thank you, Erica. Anna, Lisette.
Hi, Allegra. I'm so sad by the news, but you've been absolutely amazing. You always have the right tone, you have the right things to say, you're prepared, you have a lot on your plate, yet you always give so much of your time into this committee and the work that, the committee was charged to do. You're going to be absolutely missed, by all of us. And when it comes to town council, you should absolutely run. I was there for the questionnaires, and you did absolutely amazing. Everything happens for a reason, and when the time comes, it will be the right time. And I wish you the best of luck, and hope to see you around.
You, Lisette. Anna, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I'm just getting to know Allegra, as I've only been in the community a couple of years, but I've already run into her in multiple contexts, and always just seen consistency and advocacy and follow through. And I'm sad to see you go as I'm getting started in this group, but do have a feeling that we will continue to run into each other and continue to be able to work through this. And you have something you wanted to say?
Hi, Emerald.
Hi.
Hey, I want some of those popsicles.
No,
Where's
they look
mine?
delicious.
It's a mango sherbet sorbet.
Sorbet. It's the Trader Joe's mango and cream pops. We're pretty hooked.
Yummy.
Very
There's
much.
root beer and tangerine too.
Yes, a variety.
I got a tooth.
All right.
Camille, did you want to say a few words too?
Yes. Allegra, I just want to thank you for being on the committee and being so welcoming to me. And it was great to see you as a goddess last month. So we were at an event, and you are just a ray of sunshine. And at the same time, you are a fierce advocate. So thank you very much.
And, last but not least, Allegra, I mean, I don't even know what to say. But obviously you're going to be super missed. Yeah, like I remember when I had heard about this person named Allegra who was on, defund 413, right? How was it? Is it 413 defund or?
Defund 413 Amherst. Yeah.
Defund 413 Amherst. I was like, who's this person? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, is he going to be legitimate? And you are truly legitimate. Definitely someone that, we can count on. You're a person, obviously, presents as a white woman. And for me, I've had obviously different interactions with white women throughout my life. And you are definitely someone that, you were who you say you were, you know what I'm saying? Which was a breath of fresh air. Because there's been other, people, and especially white people, that say one thing and then they do something totally different. So it's just been a joy to work with you, to as everything else that people have said, right? Everything that you've contributed to our group, how you've moved this work forward, right, in leaps and bounds because of your voice, and because you have not been afraid to share your voice, and not afraid to be amongst a group that is, at this point, majority people of color, BIPOC people. Um, and that you truly care about an inclusive, a socially just, a safe Amherst for everyone and not just for a certain group of people, you know? Um, and obviously I've seen you as a mom, as, a daughter, as all of those roles, that I know a lot of us have those same roles, but you've excelled at all of them. Um, and even though I selfishly was trying to convince you to stay on, I do understand, obviously, as a mom myself, how important it is to make these types of decisions, which is the best for your family. Um, but also, and then to kind of talk about just obviously like our teamwork and, how it was really effortless, in terms of when I ended up, deciding to, run or be co-chair with you. Um, After, because it was Demetria and you, right? That were co-chairs for a while, and obviously Demetria was fierce, as we know, and brought so much to our group, when she was part of CSSJC and before through seventh gen, that we're still using that information in our work till this day, which was excellent information. Um, and so it was just seamless. And even though both of us, with all our roles, it was really difficult at times, of course, because sometimes I would be super busy or you'd be super busy, but we just knew how to like, just support each other and connect and help each other out, and just pick up things where we needed to pick up things. And also utilize our strengths, right? And know what were our strengths and kind of utilize that. And then to be perfectly honest too, it was just like, as a white woman too, there were times when I'd be like, Allegra, can you contact the town? And you would get more of a response than I would. You know what I'm saying? Because since I'm a black woman, I wouldn't get a response from them. Um, which just kind of, proved the point in terms of us needing to do this work. Um, because, me at least, I'm someone who makes my voice heard. I'm sharing, but what about all of those in our community that can't and won't, but for a variety of reasons, right? And chief amongst them being that they're intimidated by, what might happen to them, or they get retaliated, or sometimes they don't even know how to do so, given that they are not told about the resources, right, and what the town has to offer. So anyway, they're going to be tremendously missed. We thank you for your work, but yeah, don't think that means you're done. That means we still want you to, you know, I'm going to be like, you're part of my network. So I'm going to be saying, hey, we're meeting. I want you to, at least have us on, even if it's in the background, listening in. And then as other community members do, just keep on informing us. You know what I'm saying? Because I know you're well connected. And so, keep informing us, keep letting us know when things are happening, things like that, because that's how we find out about things, right? Is from our constituents. So that we still have to be a team in this work. Because as you see, if not, then we're not going to be able to do what we need to do for our residents. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Deborah.
Um, so in terms of the membership, because I know obviously you know, co-chair, we don't have to do it today because I know also we're missing Bridget. But I want you all to think about for the next meeting, like who might want to run for co-chair because I know I cannot be a single chair. I need to have a co-chair. So you all marinate on it, but come prepared for the next meeting. That will be the agenda item to select a new co-chair. Okay. And then we can also, start thinking about, and I also say that to you, Allegra, like people that could apply, obviously, to join since you will be leaving. And obviously we want someone, hopefully, I know it's big shoes to fill, but someone fierce to join CSSJC after you, because that's what we need. We need people that, like the rest of you here, because again, I was so proud of all of us. I mean, it was a teamwork on Monday. All of us really showed up, which is important and it's incredible. That's what we need. Everyone made such incredible points that I know that, like I said, our voice is critical because we each have a different angle, right? That we bring, and everything was so important. So I'm really happy about this group. So yeah, whoever we bring in after Allegra, I know never going to be able to be Allegra. We still want someone fierce to join us. So. All right, the next one and at next meeting, we will vote on new culture. Okay. Any other like membership updates?
I did have, not a membership update, sorry.
Okay.
Can I give a member report since since I missed the beginning? Or should?
No, I think why don't we do it after the public comment, because I also need to there was one other minute too that we need to vote on because we didn't have a quorum at the beginning.
Okay.
We can do both at that point.
Perfect.
But let me open it up to the second public comment. See if there's anyone in our audience that wants to do a public comment. Because we have 3 people in the audience right now. Okay. Oh, I do see someone. Miss Pat. Okay. Miss Pat, you're on. Can you hear us?
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start with my Allegra. So I ran into you, Allegra, I think when I served on CSWG, you had sent me email regarding either something regarding I'm trying to think what it was. In our exchange, I found out you were actually a schoolmate with my oldest child, Michael. And I've watched you in this community. You're a rare breed. I can tell because you say and you do what you say. You're very consistent. You know how to bring people together, for people to listen to you. You're very humble, And at the same time, you take risk. You show up when it matters most. I know you and I have had private conversation whether or not to continue with CSSJC, and you made the right decision. This work is very hard. In addition to being, full-time mom and work and everything, and just you have made a huge impact. You may not realize it, not only in CSSJC and other communities that you've served. I don't call too many people my community daughter. And so you're one of those. In fact, it came up in a conversation with one of my grandchildren. And he says, Grandma, but she's white. So I actually had to sit her down and explain my criterias, especially, young white women who I choose to call, community daughter, or even non-white. I don't use that so frequently. And Allegra, BBAA is very grateful to you. I don't know if you remember one incident one night at town council meeting, everybody was gone, and members of my group who were all there in force. You're heading, yeah, you're nodding. And when we didn't get, Paul Bachman had made all his recommendation to the town council, mostly MS Forward town council then, and nothing for us. And we all went to the hallway. Allegra, you were the only white woman that stuck with us as we're in the hallway. And we're chatting and protesting and everything. And I believe that they tried to call, police that night for disturbance, but police didn't show up. And so my point is, you've been very consistent. You do what is right. Whether or not you continue, with CSSJC, you will always be relied on, especially among people who look like me, marginalized people. We appreciate you. I can't thank you enough. Get some rest so that you can prepare for town council, because election does have consequences, and we're seeing it now. I agree with all of you. What you said about Allegra is 100% correct. And thank you. God will continue to bless you and your family for the good work you're doing. You're leaving a huge legacy, serving on CSSJC. Thank you so, so much. On behalf of BBAA, on behalf of my family, on behalf of Black community, you are superstar. You walk the walk, and you don't even show it. Am I allowed to say other stuff in general, observations?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Can I?
Yes.
Okay, so on Monday, I watched the 4-hour meeting that you guys had. First, I want to thank you all, and also the Human Rights Commissioners for your time, for doing excellent job, making presentations, making your statements, comments, and everything. I think what I want to say is that even prior to the meeting, based on what I know about our local government, decisions have already been made on how they want to respond to you guys. Okay? So there is no interest, but it's good that we have some allies now on the town council, okay? That is pushing a little bit, because all this CSWG that I was part of, and Deborah, you too, we made this recommendation 5 years ago. And we've been pushing all these years. Nothing is going to happen unless if we elect more progressive. that will be majority when we vote, or when Paul Bachman leave, his position. It's already been decided before that meeting that one, that they're not going to answer questions or avoid it, and they're not going to change from it. I have been very disappointed with the leadership of the town council president, that even with the hate letter, no public comment, public statement from her. On Monday, she manages agenda. There was no commitment from her. Zip, zero. Like, well, follow up, maybe we'll do this. That's how they've always rolled in this town. But we cannot give up. And when people feel tired, it's okay to take a break. It's not a weakness. I always tell people that. People ask me, and I'm sure many people have been doing this long before, I got involved. What keeps you going? I said, I do take a break. You see me at CSSJC, I quit. I didn't even reapply because I felt that Paul was just put us there and not to be effective. So I'm like, I have many platforms, to raise my big mouth. Progressive Coalition of Amherst Area, I'm the president there. BBAA, Black Business, I'm the president there. I don't even have to belong to any organization. The media is always, bombarding me, always calling me for my opinions, not even only local media, up to Springfield area. So I don't need to serve on CSSJC to be, to continue to advocate. So I thank you all for that. Another thing I want to say is that I was kind of frustrated with some of our counselors when they're expressing that they didn't know that Chris wasn't getting, much calls. Come on now, please. Isn't it their job to, be asking those questions as part of their, agenda setting? To come as a surprise. I don't know what to make of that. It's really, yeah, it was mind-boggling to me. I wouldn't say that, the meeting was a show, but I will say that nothing has changed in our town. Zero, zero. I appreciate you all for your powerful statement, Rani Parker when she spoke, and Debbie when you spoke. I had some extended family members who were also watching. People were literally in tears when two of you spoke. That's how powerful it was. I had to explain to my family members who don't know two of you, try to explain to them. So your work matters. I've been thinking like CSSJC needs to be beyond advisory board. I think you guys, the new leadership, whoever becomes co-chair with Debbie, is something you guys need to think about. You see how, Human Rights Commission was able to elevate their committee a little bit. I think in order for CSSJC to get things done, I think they need to give you guys more power. The town and the town council and the town manager. I think that's part of my frustration, and that's the reason why I quit. Like, it's almost like Paul wanted this committee just to be a venting session. And it's not fair to all of you with all your time and everything. Something needs to change. And you guys need to push for that. And lastly, and I'm sorry I've taken so long, seriously, and I've been saying this and I'm going to stick to it. It may not be, popular thing to say. If the town council come up with a recommendation of Rob, ROB, that CSWG did not recommend. I think you all should work as a team and reject it. It's not going to stop Paul from creating, ROB, but rejection from CSSJC and hopefully from Human Rights Commission will send a very strong message. Because what we don't want is to have ROB like CSSJC, and I'm not trying to be insulting when I say that. You don't want another committee that's supposed to protect, help, help marginalized communities to just be not, just nothing, not being effective. So I'll stop there. Thank you guys so much. And thank you again, Allegra. I appreciate you all.
Thank you, Ms. Pat.
Thank you, Ms. Pat.
So now, Allegra, I think you had something you wanted to bring up.
Yes, so there will be a town council meeting on Monday and they will be reviewing the budget and possibly voting on the budget. But they also, yesterday at GOL, looked at a rent control resolution, which would be signing on in support of the legislation that is in front of the House and Senate in Massachusetts currently to rescind the 1994 ban on rent control in an effort to try and help curb the rising tide of homelessness and housing inaffordability. So there is a petition going around, and the measure is sponsored by Councilors Breivik, Cano Martin, and Walker. And they are looking for people as community sponsors. So I believe I sent it around to everybody, but it is also available on the Indie. If you feel so compelled to do so, please sign on. And if you know people who might be interested, forward it along to your networks. Hopefully there will be a turnout in support of the resolution, but I think also just collecting the names in advance is helpful to show community support. And I just did want to note that in 2023, this group, along with the Human Rights Commission, the Housing Trust, and the Public Health Department had sponsored a forum, a listening session on housing in Amherst, and rent control was one of the things that had come up in multiple conversations there. So it is something that is adjacent to our mission and has come up in community events that we've co-sponsored. So that is my update.
Thank you, Allegra. So in terms of that, I know I probably won't be able to attend on the 15th. So I'm planning to send in my comment at least into for the meeting. But is there other people? Are there other people that can attend from our group?
Is this in the town hall
Yeah,
at
or
what
I
time?
think they have Zoom too, right, Allegra?
Town hall or Zoom, and it starts at 6:30.
Okay, I think I can make it.
Okay, that would be great, Lisa.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
the information's on the email you forwarded.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because then you can report back to us on it next meeting.
I might be able to as well. And thank you
Okay,
for
great.
and
better.
definitely already forward it.
Right, awesome. So Lisa and Anna, if you do attend, if you can report back next time. Okay. And then the last thing before we see any items not anticipated was in terms of adopting let me see, May 13th May 13th minutes. So the only people that weren't on was Lisette and Allegra at the time, so we didn't have quorum because Erica wasn't at that meeting, so she abstained during the vote. So do you all have any edits to the minutes, May 13th minutes?
No.
Okay.
No.
If not, okay, great. So then I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
And then is there a second? Okay, great. And Allegra,
Yes.
Lisette,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Everald,
Yes.
Erica,
Abstain.
and Deborah, yes. So we've adopted the May 13th meeting minutes. And for our last item is items not anticipated. Are there any items not anticipated? Okay, if there aren't any, our next meeting is going to be July 8th at 6:30. Let me just make sure I get them on the right calendar date here. Sorry. Yeah. So oh my God, my computer's going crazy over here. Now let me get to July. Yeah, July 8th, 6:30. So I'll send the agenda around since Allegra will be doing it. So we'll have our usuals, right? So if we have any minutes, announcements, minutes, member reports, public comment, Crescent DI updates, resident oversight board, youth empowerment, and then we'll have membership, okay, because we will be voting for a new co-chair. And then if you all have any other people, in terms of recruits that we want to recruit, so that will be added. I will put on there the racist letter too, because I know there's going to be a discussion, so I'm going to contact Kathleen in regards to it. And folks will also report, I'll put there in terms of the housing, the rent control. And then is there any other one that I should add right now that people know? If not, then obviously we can add it then when I send the agenda around.
What about the follow-up on the information we're supposed to be getting from town council? And
Yep, that'll be me. Yep. So town council, I'll put the town council follow up. Okay, perfect. All right, folks, it's 8:55. There's nothing else, then we are adjourning for the evening. Okey-doke.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.